There are currently 788 Indian students studying at Harvard University in all of its schools. This is a developing story, and this is all of the information that we have so far. In an unprecedented situation, the Trump administration has cancelled Harvard University's ability to enroll foreign students. This has been an escalating battle between the American government and the Ivy League school. What it effectively means is that thousands of current students will have to transfer to other universities or leave the country immediately. Now, this announcement comes just as there are thousands of international students at Harvard who are just about to graduate, and thousands others are going to join in August this year for what they call the fall session. The Trump administration's Department of Homeland Security announced this morning that it has terminated the university's Student Exchange Visitor Program certification, so it can no longer enroll foreign students, and existing students must transfer or lose their rights. The Secretary of Homeland Security, in a letter dated May 22nd to Harvard University, said, and I'm quoting, "I'm writing to inform you that effective immediately, the university Student Exchange Visitor Program certification is revoked." Now, how many students will this impact? According to the New York Times, the end of this international enrollment will basically affect 6,800 international students. That's a quarter of the total that come from other countries that are currently studying at Harvard. Graduate programs, which is basically what we call post-graduation programs. Graduate programs will be hit especially hard. At the Kennedy School of Governance, 59% of the students come from overseas. 40% of the students at the Chang School of Public Health and 35% of the students at Harvard Business School are international students. On expected lines, the university has taken the government to court on the issue, saying this is a violation of their fundamental rights. Now, a quick recap of how this all started. April 2025, Harvard became the first elite university to refuse the administration's request to clamp down on pro-Palestinian protests, to end their diversity or their DEI programs, and to hand over details of students who had been protesting. Federal agencies then suspended research grants to Harvard, which deeply affected many of their projects, and the university has taken the government to court over that as well. The question is, does the US government have the authority to do this? Well, the Department of Homeland Security is the department that oversees who can enter the country and who cannot. So it also oversees which colleges are allowed to bring in students and give them legal status, including Harvard. So the program gives colleges the ability to issue documentation to foreign students who are admitted into schools, and then the students can use that documentation to apply for visas to stay in the United States. Now, these visas specifically, the letter that was put out today basically said that Harvard can no longer prohibited from having persons of F or J non-immigrant visa status for the academic school year 25-26. Now, what is an F1 visa academic student? Allows individuals to enter the US as a full-time student at an accredited college or a university. The J visa is a non-immigrant visa for individuals approved to participate in exchange programs. So both of these Harvard doesn't have access to. The reason given by the Department of Homeland Security is effectively saying that Harvard's leadership has created an unsafe campus environment permitting anti-American, and I'm quoting here, pro-terrorist agitators to harass and physically assault individuals, including many Jewish students, and otherwise obstruct its once venerable learning environment. Many of these agitators are foreign students, that letter said. Harvard's leadership further facilitated and engaged in coordinated activity with the Chinese Communist Party, including hosting and training members of the CPC paramilitary group complicit in the Uyghur genocide. This is what the letter says. It is a privilege, not a right, for universities to enroll foreign students and benefit from their higher tuition payments to help pad their multi-billion-dollar endowments. Let this serve as a warning to all universities and academic institutions. I must point out here, what they're referring to, what the government of America is referring to, is that universities like Harvard and many other universities across their country charge international students a far higher rate of fees than they do for American citizens. And this really helps bolster their finances. Like you can see, many of these schools, nearly 60% of the students come from overseas. Yes, there is a diversity angle. You want to be able to bring in as many different points of view. It adds to the education, but it doesn't hurt financially either. So the government not only here shooting at Harvard, but making this a warning, cautionary tale for everybody else, saying let this serve as a warning to all universities. So basically saying that fall in line or else. Now the next question is, how has Harvard reacted? Like I said, Harvard has taken the Department of Homeland Security to court. It has put out a statement saying that it is committed to its ability to host international students who hail from over 140 countries. It says the latest act by the government is clear retaliation for Harvard exercising its First Amendment rights and to reject the government's demand of control of Harvard's governance, curriculum, and the ideology of its faculty and its students. So can Harvard regain the authority to enroll foreign students? Only two possibilities. One, it needs to win that court case. Second, the government has to change its mind in some way, because until that happens, and see, the government has asked Harvard to comply in the next 42 hours. 72 hours. So what does it need to do in 72 hours? Harvard is required to provide, and this was asked earlier, required to provide any on all records, official and informal, in its possession, including electronic records, audio, video footage regarding illegal activity, dangerous and violent activity, threats to other students and university personnel. And it goes on. So there was a long list put out by the government asking the university to share details effectively of who protested, any details of specifically disciplinary records of non-immigrant students, also the government wanted oversight on hiring staff and what staff was allowed to say on campus, which Harvard had rejected at that point. The question is now, students who have received admission into Harvard, can they continue to enroll for the fall season? As it stands as of now, no. Unless the government changes its decision or the court steps in. Basically, like the government has said, for Harvard to restore its status and accept these students, it will have to comply with the demands of the government over the next 72 hours. Harvard had previously declined to provide those records. What happens to the Indian students who are studying at Harvard right now? Basically, as the New York Times put it, there's a total of 6,800 students, of which 788 students are from India. And the Harvard Global Support Services on its website said that each year anywhere from 500 to 800 students study at that university. It's very clear now students who have completed their degrees and are going to graduate will be allowed to graduate, because the letter says very clearly it would take effect for the academic year 2025-26, or the school year as they call it. So the Harvard class of 2025 that's expected to graduate will continue to graduate. Students who have not completed their degree will need to transfer to other universities, and this would also apply to those who have received admission but have not actually joined up yet. Students who are about to attend Harvard for fall 2025 will no longer be permitted to do so unless the government changes its decision or the court steps in. The students will have about, if the deadline is actually breached of 72 hours and there's no change on either of these fronts, the students will have between 15 to 60 days. We don't know for sure, to actually apply to other universities and to get to get into other universities. But it seems very clear that Harvard is going to go to court and fight this. There are, needless to say, a lot of Indian students in the US. Research that I've brought to you in the past tells us that Indian students contribute $9 billion US annually to the US economy. And so it is quite interesting that the US government will want to make all of these Indian students uncomfortable or insecure at the same time. We already know students who are applying this year are considering other options other than the US because of how unstable the regulations seem in the US and how they keep changing their minds. So a lot of Indian students are now considering the UK, they're considering Europe, they're considering Australia instead of America right now. The other country that tends to be impacted a lot, along with India, is China. China, the government has said already, the Indian government has not responded yet. The Chinese government has responded and said the Trump administration to ban international students from Harvard will harm America's international standing. It's gone on to say, and this is the foreign ministry spokesperson for China, has said the relevant actions by the US side will only damage its own image and international credibility. China will firmly protect the rights and interests of Chinese students abroad. Chinese students make up a large chunk of that population as well. Apparently, 1,203 students in Harvard right now are from China. Apparently, I mean, according to the New York Times, Harvard will also get hit because a lot of its sports teams, and it has a very strong sporting program, a lot of the players in its sports teams actually come from overseas as well. 7 out of 8 rowers, several of their hockey players, 10 out of 13 of their squash team, half of their women's football or soccer team, a golf team, apparently all come from overseas. In a small, interesting development, the University of Hong Kong Science and Technology has extended an open invitation to international students who are already at Harvard, saying that you can come and we will facilitate admission procedures, academic support, a seamless transition. So if someone wants to consider that, that's an option as well. And also, I want you to remember that this is not the first time Trump has actually gone up in loggerheads against, against Harvard. In fact, just to give you an idea, in 2018, there was the whole affirmative action lawsuit about racial discrimination in admissions. At that point, Harvard took Trump to court, and a federal judge ruled in Harvard's favor. Then there was the F-1 visa threat for international students. Again, Harvard and MIT sued the Trump administration, and a judge ruled in their favor. So this is not the first time. And given the track record that the Harvard Law School has, in just the sheer number of talented lawyers that it has in the American system right now, one can be assured that Harvard is going to fight this tooth and nail, because this is really important to them. In terms of advice for Indian students right now, the Indian government has not said anything, and there's been no instruction that's come from the Indian government. So as and when we have that, we will put that out for you as well. But for now, immigration lawyers, students, faculty, everybody is just waiting to see how this standoff plays off for the next 72 hours between Harvard University and the Trump administration.